vehicle, sometimes you're walking because it's broken down, but the road doesn't change.
YouTube link.
So I take every one of my clips and I use Descript, which, by the way, I think we're going to talk about tools later, but that is the game changer that I use. We use that to edit Guy Kawasaki's podcast. This is so as soon as I'm done with my live show, I put it to Descript. It gives me a transcript. I break those transcript into sections because I go inside of my YouTube and put those the markers where you can go in the different time codes. Yeah, use those for that because you can it does it on Descript. You can export that as a SRT file for your subtitles. But each one of those is I go and I can highlight that section Descript and get it to 2 minutes, 20 seconds. I hit export. It takes that clip out. I put it into a kind of a template that I have in Premiere that has like a timeline on it and has subtitles underneath it. And boom, I'm done. I have a square version that works everywhere for Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And then I also have it in a format which is the vertical video where I can use it for TikTok or Pinterest, which is another huge place where I've been getting a lot of traction with videos. And anywhere you can put on that vertical video, I have a version for that as well. So I have square, vertical, and then I have the normal 16:9 for YouTube, and that's all done with Descript. It is freaking amazing.
I used to do broadcast TV, and it was so one way. We didn't have this technology, and I think that some people forget. I always think about Deadpool, right? The big thing with Deadpool is breaking the fourth wall. Breaking the fourth wall is talking to you, the person out there. You're in with us. And I think that's one thing that a lot of people don't do enough with, especially broadcasters that are trying to get into this space, or brands or big brands, is you're having to break that fourth wall, and then you have to let those people in. And that's the difference between web media and TV media. And I think if people could just get that basic part down, I think that would help a lot too.
You know what's funny?
I used to do broadcast TV, and it was so one way. We didn't have this technology, and I think that some people forget. I always think about Deadpool, right? The big thing with Deadpool is breaking the fourth wall. Breaking the fourth wall is talking to you, the person out there. You're in with us. And I think that's one thing that a lot of people don't do enough with, especially broadcasters that are trying to get into this space, or brands or big brands, is you're having to break that fourth wall, and then you have to let those people in. And that's the difference between web media and TV media. And I think if people could just get that basic part down, I think that would help a lot too.
You know what's funny?
Jeff, Dr. Elo, does that really help? Is it worth multi-streaming or multi-casting your live stream?
Go ahead, Jeff. You're first.
So this is really like, this was a big deal back, because I've been doing this since the Google Plus days when it was Google Hangouts and all this stuff. And it used to be because it was hard to pull in comments. Like they would say, like, figure out your platform and concentrate on that and build a community over there. Well, now with the amazing, software they have, like with Ecamm and Restream and the others, that I can bring in comments from every destination that I go to: YouTube, Twitter, Facebook groups. And more people are consuming content where they feel comfortable. Some people like to bring up, like, there are probably people watching right now on their big flat screen TV and watching it on YouTube because it's got that really great quality and they like to watch it on there. So my thing has been, I always want to let them consume it where they want to, as long as I can have a community and talk with them. Because otherwise, just upload a video to YouTube. If you're not pulling comments up on screen like you guys are doing here, then just upload a static video up to YouTube. But for me, it's always been about the community, and I'm so excited that I can do it in all these different places now. We even go to Amazon Live now and make money every time we go.
Wow.
Just our normal show, and it's a blast because of this cool technology that we can do that with now.
The client thing is, like, I'll sit with them and say, on average, it takes 8 to 10 online interactions before someone is willing to move to that next step of the funnel, whether that's a purchase, whether that's a call, whatever it may be. And I say, it's 8 to 10 online interactions. If you're uploading something once a week, then in the perfect world, that's 8 to 10 weeks. But then most social platforms, you'll be lucky if you're getting 5% exposure to your current audience. So this is where that was the math I worked out when I was doing my own stuff. Was like, you're talking about the way that we feel like we're bombarding our audience. But the truth is, most people, that's why it takes a year to 2 years for us to see results if you're doing this average approach,
Right.
because that's just, I was like,
Lights, camera, action. Join the Stream team with Strick and Brant and be a part of the Stream Network. Our goal is really simple. We're here to help you succeed. All right, you got us. So
What
now,
is
you can
going on?
tell, I don't have Brant with me, but I do have India. India, how are you doing? Thank you for coming on and being a guest today.
What is poppin', DJ Strick? Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here and to replace Brant.
That's what
I'll try to do a good job.
That's what I'm talking about. It's going to be cool. We're going to talk a little bit about what you had an opportunity to do in these last 100 days. And I think we're probably, 107, 8 days now?
107 today, actually. Yeah.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That being said, I got to shout out Richard. Richard, thank you for hanging out with us today. Rabbi David, thank you for hanging out with us today. Whether you're inside of the Ecamm Live community or you're with us on YouTube on the stream show, please let us know you're watching. Just check in with us. We'll be more than happy to shout you out during this show. There he is, Mr. Paul
He's
Duncan.
the moderator.
Good to see you. Good to see you. And thank you for hanging out with us today. We're going to have a good time today and kind of dive into India Delgado's journey, like why she started, what was the process like, because I only did it for 30 days and I know it was rough for a month. So to do 100 days, I want to hear the whole story. Also, like what you picked up along the way, any kind of knowledge, skills, even equipment. If you decided, you know what, I was doing 100 days, I wanted to have this. I want to talk about all of that. And you guys today get a chance to be a part of our conversation. So if you have any questions that you want to ask her, please put it in the comments and we'll be sure to answer those questions as well. So again, welcome to the Stream Show. I am DJ Strick, the Stream Guy. And again, thank you, India, for being a part of this. Let's dive right on into it. So
let's do it. I'm ready.
India, first question for you today.
Yep.
How did you come about the idea of streaming for 100 days? Like you did a whole promo around doing a 100-day stream.
Yeah.
I would tell people, to be honest with you, my recommendation would be just stream for 100 days. Don't announce it. Don't put up posts. Like, what was the mindset behind your marketing of doing 100 days of content?
Yeah. So what made me do it was honestly all sporadic. It was just, I was doing my regular weekly stream on the weekends, and I had just come back from kind of taking a hiatus, and a few people in the community had also done 100 days. So Gretchen from Images by Gretchen had done it. Alec had done it. Chris Wood did it last year. And so there were a handful of people. Lewis, Mr. Camera Junkie, didn't do a 100 days, but he has been doing consecutive weeks. I think right now he's on week 84. So Mr. Camera Junkie hasn't missed a consecutive week in pretty much, what is that, like a year and a half now?
That's
and
cool.
So that is amazing, right? And so looking at these fellow content creators and them doing it and me just coming back from my hiatus, I was like, man, this is something that I think for me is really going to help me just get back into content creation and doing that deep dive back into it. And so that was the premise of it. I was talking to my community during the live stream, like, guys, I'm kicking this idea over and mulling this idea. And they're like, okay, do it. And I was like, wait a minute, hold on. I didn't like, leave it up to your community to just be like, okay, so that's it. So we're in. And, once the community was like, okay, do it, let's start. I was like, okay, I guess. And so that was the big reason why. That was kind of why I didn't even think about it, because the community was like, because I was like, all right, I'll start in 2 weeks. I wanted to start like on the 15th of the month. And everybody was like, no, start tomorrow. Wow. And I was like, tomorrow. Okay. Right. That's what they were saying. I was like, I guess, and it's one of those things. and I learned this when I used to work for Radio Shack back in the day. I had a manager that used to say, why put off something for tomorrow that you can do today? Right? Like with the yeah, exactly. Like, why procrastinate? So, he came in my ear when I was like, oh, I'll do it on the 15th. And I was like, all right, I guess I'll start tomorrow. And that was that. As far as the marketing piece of it and really just putting it out there, I think that was more for the accountability.
I got
right? The commitment and the full blown accountability.
Now you got to do it.
Right, exactly.
I got to put it out there. So Rabbi David says he's up to 74 weeks this Tuesday. So big shouts out to you, man. And Richard's like, hats off, India. Amazing on that 100 days. So
thank you guys.
I feel the same way. I'm like, wow, that is number one, to do it. And like you said, to put the marketing out, to make it, accountable, for what you say you're going to do. That had to be difficult in some days when I know you didn't feel like, making
100%
content. So how did you get around
100%?
How did you get around that feeling of saying, not today? I don't want to do it today, guys. How did you get around that?
It was really just one of those things that it was like, well, I'm here. Now I got to do it. Right. Gotcha. That was all it was. It was like, I'm here. Now I've done it. And so it was like, in the beginning, it was, oh, I'm just starting. I can do this. It's no big deal. But then when I got to the halfway marker, it was like, okay, 50 days. Now I've done 50 days. I'm halfway down. I need to finish. Right. So the flip event, the switch eventually ended up flipping, where it was like, I'm 2/3 of the way done. I'm in 66 days. It's just another 33. Now I got to just push through. It became a part of my schedule. So I didn't stream every day at 7:00, but I would say maybe 85% of the time, the timing was the same. So then it became kind of like my internal clock would get ready for it. It was after work. So it was literally ingrained in my schedule. My body was used to it. So it was like one of those things like, all right, just go do it. Man, and it was, cool. Even if I was tired, it'd be like, all right, today will be a 10-minute stream. It'll be short, but at least I did it, right? Do small, do little, but at least I can go on and say I did it. And that was kind of it.
So Paul said you did a great job. So thank you, Paul, for giving her that. When you would do those days, that 10, 15 minutes, what was that feeling like for you? Did you feel like, you know what, I did what I said I wanted to do. I'm accomplished even if I don't do a whole 60-minute show?
Yeah. So it's so funny because there were a lot of times, right? A lot of moments, I would say probably 30% of the time, that I had those mindsets of 15, 20 minutes. I'm tired, or I had a rough day at work, or whatever the case may be. And I would say, so if that was, let's say, a third of the time, I very rarely actually did 15 or 20 minutes. I went into it and it was 45 minutes or even an hour still, because once I was in it and once the community was there, whatever kind of funk I was in, I just kind of shook off. It was really non-existent. I did have very few 15 to 20 minute streams. And that was either that I worked a full day at the bank and then I did a financial literacy course and then I had to do, right? So it was like my day was way too packed, or I had very no energy. I was literally running on E. And that was so rare that I would say, honestly, probably 80% of the time, 85% of the time, they were full 1 hour streams, if not longer.
Wow. Number one, I'm going to say, for everybody that's watching this, if you're a content creator, you want to do all that you can to learn this skill. Okay, so if you want to be a streamer, guess what you have to do? You have to stream. I really do recommend that you find ways to get in front of the camera every day. Now, I also say that there's ways for you to build content. I wanted to do some short form content, India. So I said, hey, I did a challenge with one of my friends for accountability. We did 30 days of doing reels for 30 days. I didn't do reels, didn't know how to do reels, didn't know how to edit reels or any of that. And I finally got a chance to do them, and I've learned so much about doing reels.
Yeah.
But there
Yeah.
were some days I did not want to do reels. There are some days that I didn't have any idea about what reel I should do. I had no creativity for those days, but because I had a partner and a friend, I did have some accountability for it. But again, that was
Right.
just 30 days. I have no, and after the 30 days, I was so tired, I didn't post a reel for another month. Like I was just so
Right.
tired of
Yeah.
posting reels. I
Yeah.
didn't do one for
Yep.
a month. So you have some things working on your side here to where you're day 107 and you're still going. And we want to
Yeah.
find out some more about how you set this up. So let's do this. First of all, Chris Woods, I think he's in the
Yeah.
community. He says,
He is.
what's up? So,
Chris, what's
yeah,
up,
so
man?
he says hi. There you go, Chris. Thank you for checking in with us. And Paul says hi to Chris as well in the community over there at Ecamm Live. So I want to get to the rabbi's
Yeah.
question. Excuse me. Did you plan for each stream? Is what he's asking here, or just
Yeah.
let them happen organically? How did that go for you?
So I think that was honestly a 50-50 split for me. I did plan, I would say probably about 50, and then the other half was just organic. And the biggest reason for that, I intended to plan, I would say my intention was to plan at least 80% of the time. I knew that I didn't want to really have everything structured and stuff. And I knew that having 100% of the time it being planned was going to be unrealistic going into this with a daily challenge. But I did have a goal of trying to plan at least 80% of them. And just with timing and with the bank and real life stuff, right? Because it's like my full-time job and then doing this every day was kind of like a part-time job, honestly.
Right.
And then planning into it would have made it from a part-time job into a full-time job. So I definitely didn't do every day of planning, but 50% at a time. And I'll say that those 50% at a times, like now I'm going to go back and I'm going to do like the SEO and keyword research, because it was more like, let's talk about the note-taking app that I use on my iPad. How do I organize myself with, my iPad and the Apple Pencil? Let's talk about editing on the iPad. So there were some really cool live streams that I did that were more tutorial style, informational type of things. And I planned for those. But then the other ones, even the ones that I didn't necessarily plan, it was things that it's like, I know that I use kind of on a consistent basis. Let me talk about this, even if it were off the cuff.
Got you. I like that. So
yeah,
I will ask this question last, but I think for everybody that's watching, Rabbi, Paul, Chris, and everybody want to know this. What do you think was some of your major takeaways from this? You talked about planning and doing tutorials, and you're going to do some SEO work on those.
Yeah.
Is it YouTube? You're going to do SEO work there or inside of your Facebook page? Tell me, like, what are your takeaways as far as what you learned and how you're going to be able to use that content moving forward?
That's a great question. So with the SEO, I'm going to be taking advantage of, basically, I use TubeBuddy. I'm a TubeBuddy user. So all of their SEO tools, Keyword Explorer. And for the ones that I did have that tutorial style type of live streams, I'm going to go back and do chapters for different things. So that because the thought process is, this is really good content on here. And although somebody, if we just use the example of notability on the iPad, right? Note taking with the app Notability. If someone is looking for notability, I want my live stream to be able to come up within that search. But if the live stream was an hour and a half, I want to be able to make sure that my description and my chapter markers and everything, it does what it's supposed to do, so that the person doesn't need to watch the entire hour and a half, but they can say, oh, okay, in this particular section, I can click to it. And this is how she creates, she organizes a template in Notability, right? So that's one of the things with what I'm going to be doing with the future. And then my takeaway was that I absolutely should have done that throughout the 100 days. I didn't do it at all. And now I'm kicking myself in the foot. Even if I would have taken, let's say, a weekday, a Saturday or a Sunday, and I would have said, oh, okay, this week, because there was one week where I did just digital note taking. I wish I would have finished off that week and then went back and cleaned up those streams, because it wouldn't have taken long, but now
Right.
I have to go through
And you got
all
100 to do.
100. Man, listen, and not all 100 are that they're going to be, chapter titles and SEO'd, but I don't know which one, like I got to go through it. So I got to literally like put myself on 2 times mode and, scrub through it and then be like, oh, okay, this was a good quality one. Let me go ahead and do all of that research. So
Gotcha.
definitely doing a better job as I, went through the progression instead of leaving it for last, because now it's just kind of
That's going to be
inundating.
fun because you want
Right.
to continue to. So what happens is, for a lot of us, and we're part of the Let's Get Live community, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
everybody in there, guess what? We're talkers. We're explainers.
Right.
We're
Yeah.
debaters. We're in front of the camera people.
Yeah.
And it's easy for us. It's easy for me to turn this camera on. I don't need setup prep or any of that. Now, I do
Right.
when it's
Right.
tutorials. I
Yep.
started doing more tutorials for a brand that I'm working with, and I have slides, the whole nine. I had to learn that because I could just turn the camera on,
Yeah.
of course, from my radio
Yep.
days, and just go about anything and talk, and don't
Right.
have people in the comments, because when we have people in the comments, we're able to talk to them inside of the comments. Like Chris is telling
Right.
Paul in the comments, hey, brother, I hope you're feeling better. Paul, I didn't know
Right.
you were feeling bad. So if you have been,
Right.
I wish you well as well. And I didn't say this to all the other fathers. India said it
Yeah.
to me off camera, but happy Father's Day, guys.
Yes.
I want to
Yes.
say that
Happy
to
Father's
you. So
Day.
happy Father's Day to everybody that's watching. That is from going back doing the scriptures is going to be some real work. But if you
Yeah.
do it, what do you think the outcome would be? And you're just hoping that, the algorithm would pick it up, and,
Yeah.
more people would see your content?
Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly what it is. That more people will see the content, and then of course continuing to grow my channel organically. So I have taken screenshots of, like, I have to go through it, but I did take screenshots of what my analytics look like before the 100 streams. And then I'm doing the same thing before I go ahead into this SEO piece, right? If I know I find that week of digital note taking, I'm going to take a screenshot of what that looks like in terms of
Gotcha.
views, in terms of, on people who are not subscribed versus people who are subscribed, and then do all the SEO research, and then try to keep an eye on it, I would say every 30, 60, 90, and see if it makes sense. If there are people, now that I put keywords, that I, put the description, chapter titles, are new users coming to the channel, and am I growing new users since that point? That's what I'm
Gotcha.
going to definitely be doing from that.
Got you. Man, that makes a
Yeah.
lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. And I have to say this because we talked about him. So Paul says he's doing much better. So definitely good
Yes.
to hear that. And then
Yep.
we have another question from a live
Yep.
streaming point of view. India, what's the biggest thing you've learned on your 100-day journey?
So it's so funny because the question is from a live streaming point of view,
Right.
but I think
So,
that this is important for us, right? From
okay.
live streamers, is to do a better job at taking, like, self-care, mental health, physical health, emotional health,
That's good.
because so with having a full-time job and then my 100 days being my part-time job, I
Right.
did a crappy job of my self-care. So I stopped working out. I stopped eating good because it was one of those things. And I think eating played a huge habit because my time was so constricted. It was like, oh,
Gotcha.
I'm not going to cook. I don't have time to cook. I'm going to order out. So I wasn't doing self-care. And so from that perspective of anyone that's looking to do any type of challenge, unless it's a 7-day challenge, but if you're looking to do a 30-day challenge or something longer than 30 days, just take care of yourself and make your self-care a priority, because it's easy to get pushed that kind of to the back burner. And I would say I started feeling the effects probably around day 7 or somewhere in the 70s, 70 to day 80. And it affected me mentally. I was going through it. I had my
Wow.
anxiety, depression started to kick in, and it was all of those things because I wasn't taking care of myself.
That's
So
really
that's a
good
big lesson
advice.
for me.
That's
Yeah.
really good advice. That's really good advice.
Yeah.
People don't know, like, if you're showing up
Right.
About during the day or a week or a month, how often you would talk to your best friend. All right. And there's some days you
Right.
don't feel like talking to your best friend. And there's some days you don't feel like talking to your expanded group of friends because you're not feeling good. So if you're coming on and, I think of the streamers that are on, whether they're on YouTube on the stream show or inside of the Ecamm community, whether you're on my DJ Strick page or my fan page, any of that, this is my extended family, my friends, and I want to come on and engage with them and feel good about 100%. And not have those days where I'm just not in the mood for, because there's days that out of 100, I am sure there was some days I'm just not in the mood. And even Brian is saying here, congrats on the 100 days, because we all know, India, how hard that had to be for you. So to give the advice of saying, hey, think about your self-care, do you think on the front end now you would have planned to do something different?
Man,
as far as self-care, like making sure you plan the food out or any other preparation you would do mentally for that.
Yeah, I think so. So I stopped because, I'm very hard on myself. And so I made sure I took that moment of pause, because it's like, don't beat yourself up. And what I was going to say and that's why I said, don't beat yourself up. What I was going to say was not to be lazy. And that's not a good way to put it. And the reason why I say that is because I could have woken up earlier and done my journaling in the morning, and I stopped doing that. I could have woken up earlier and gotten in a 20-minute workout. And so for me, that's why my gut reaction was, don't be lazy, wake up earlier. But then it's also that negative self-talk that it's like, no, I needed my rest, right? Like, it wasn't being lazy. I was legit tired. I needed my rest. However, just being a little bit more disciplined, I would say that's a better way to describe it. Being a little bit more disciplined in forcing myself to wake up just a half an hour earlier so that I can have that space, whether it was to do a quick workout or to do some quick mindfulness and stuff like that, so that I can keep those, my coping mechanisms for the anxiety and for the depression and thing, just keep that, what I know works for me. So just a little bit of self-discipline and keeping it top of mind. I think the reason why the self-discipline wasn't there was because I'm fine, right? And I do those things on a daily basis. And so I cope very well. And I wasn't expecting for this 100 days to kind of take place of that. And I didn't realize that it was taking place of that until it was too late. So now it's one of those things that you don't know what you don't know until you know, right? Hindsight is 20/20. Right. And so now it's just, okay, then I learned. And now I know that'll always be at the forefront of whatever it is that I do.
So Chris Wood and we were on the same page. He actually posted this right after I asked you the question. So I'm putting it up, Chris. I see it. Yeah. She answered the question that you had. And it's kind of like this. So I'm going to try to get this right. So there was a scientific experiment with people going to the movies. Okay. So one group, they say, hey, I want you to enjoy the movie. Just laugh, enjoy it. Just go in and whatever you feel emotionally, just get it out. And the other group of people, they say, hey, I don't want you to respond to anything inside the movie. So don't laugh. Don't do any kind of response inside of this movie. Just watch it. When they had those people come out of the movie, they actually did a physical test of what they were able to lift, all right? Whether they had physical strength. Because mentally, those people were restraining themselves mentally inside of the movie theater. Guess what? That took extra energy for them. They wasn't physically as strong as the people that just they were allowed to laugh and respond.
That's crazy.
That is wild as an experiment. Yeah. But it helps us to understand, like, you had then positioned yourself that I'm going to work out in this area, all right? I'm working out in this area for these 100 days. Yeah. But because that mental strength was going that direction, it hurt in some other areas, but now you know.
Yep, exactly.
And it helps all of us to know. It helps all of us to know. Like, if you decide, hey, I'm going to you know, if you're in the gym, I'm going to do cardio for this time. Well,
Right.
there are some benefits to cardio, and then there are some things that is not benefits to cardio. All right. If you say, well, I'm
Right.
going to lift
Right.
weights, it depends on what you need, right? If I
Yep.
want to lift heavy
Exactly.
weights, I want to bulk up, you have to lift more weights. Well, that's, you know, you don't want to do cardio and try to bulk up with. I'm not a trainer by
Right.
any means. You know
Right.
what I'm
No, I
saying?
got you. Yeah.
But there's some things you need to know about that. So,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
let me say this. You know, Kathy, Principal Walker, you can't just show up. You got to eat dinner and watch us at the same time. But we're
Right.
so glad
Hello.
to have you here on the show. So even moderator Paul is saying, hey, Kathy, and glad you could make it as well. Now,
Yeah.
quick question from Facebook. Let me see. I think this may
Yeah.
be, is that Jillian maybe who asked this question? No, I will still with Chris. Chris wants to know,
Yep.
Chris, I just should just have you come ask the questions for me,
Right.
sir. But
Right,
his
right,
questions
right.
are, on the average, how long were your live streams?
On average, they were probably about an hour. Honestly, they were an hour. I would say more often than not, they were an hour. And there were streams that went over an hour, like an
Gotcha.
hour and a half. And then the really good ones where I was doing that tutorial style that I was like, all right, let's go into this and don't forget that. And let me show you how to do this. Some streams were 2 hours, but on average, it was about an hour.
That's good. That's good. I love
Yeah.
it. I love it. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you were doing your content for these 100 days, any
Yeah.
forethought at all about maybe making sure that it was in a particular niche for you?
No. No. Honestly, I didn't think that the only thought was just, all right, what do I want to talk about? But nothing really with a niche. I never
Gotcha.
even thought of that, honestly, until you said, because for me, it's like, well, I talk about tech stuff. I'll do tutorial style stuff, just kind of sticking with what, has been my weekly streams, and what I want my channel to continue to be about as I grow my channel.
Right.
And it's more of that. Let's talk about, I've been told over and over again that I am a very good explainer. I am a very good teacher.
You are.
So I do teach. Thank you. I think you actually you were one of the people that told me that 2 years ago when I
Well, there
explained
you
things,
go.
right? You
I'm
call
a
me.
pretty smart guy, and I know talent.
You are. Thank you. So I want to just take whatever the tech is and simplify the tech process, right? So
Gotcha.
whether it's something that I'm using, that's what I want my channel really to be about. All the tech that I use, I know that if I have questions, people have similar questions. And so
Right.
I just take those questions and put it into a video to help people out.
I love it. I love it. I love
Yeah.
it. So in doing that, there's still a way. I mean, that's still a niche,
Yeah.
TikTok
Yeah.
is still a niche. So,
Yeah.
you know what? I'm gonna mess up this name. I can't. But hey, how are you doing? Thank you for hanging
Gigi.
out with us. There
Is
you
it
go,
Gigi?
Miss
It's Gigi. She goes
There
by
you go.
Gigi.
There you go,
It's
Gigi.
Glenisa. I had to ask her too. The very first time she was coming on my streams, I had to ask her too. But she just goes by Gigi, so she's good.
I am absolutely the worst. I'm the absolute worst. This is why live stream is good for me. Like even now, like if you're talking
Yeah.
about taking notes, like in one of your things, like I like to talk into my phone, talk to speech to
Got you.
text. That's what
Yeah,
I like
yeah,
to do
yeah.
because I'll be
Yeah.
trying to type something out and misspell the whole thing. So that
Yeah.
being said, that's still a niche, India.
Yeah.
It's about
Yeah.
tutorials on tech. But if the tech is around live streaming, tech is around what you want to call it, just technical work
Yeah.
for anybody that could
Yeah.
use it. Like that's still a niche. It's just you're talking
Yeah.
about several tools inside of the tech that you use to help you do your job better. That push forward
Yeah.
with that. I am working on like helping. I'm working on learning niching better. I'll say it that
Yeah,
way.
I got you.
I'm
That makes
learning
sense.
it
That
better
definitely makes
because,
sense.
we have fought against, because we're live streamers, we could talk about anything.
Yeah.
Talking about anything. Like there's no traction you can get from the algorithm or YouTube if you just talk about anything.
Right. Correct.
Like, if you're
Correct.
talking about
Yep.
talking about golf one day, talking about glasses
Right.
the next day.
Right.
You know,
Right.
YouTube is like, dude, make up your mind. Like, I want to see
Right.
you people, but make up your mind what type of content you
Yeah.
want to come up with. And people will argue. And Gigi is saying, no worries. Thank you, Gigi, for saying that. And Miss Kathy saying she's the travel lawyer extraordinaire.
Yeah.
So thank you for hanging out with us. And Paul is like, the family is here. So that's so very cool for people to want to hang out and hear this story, India, from you, because I do think that we could help a lot of people. That's part of what the Stream Show is here, and it's all about helping streamers succeed. So when one of us has an opportunity to experience something and we can help other people with that experience. That's why I wanted to bring you on. I hadn't had a chance to, I've seen the streams, I hadn't had a chance to kind of like dive into them. And I wanted to talk to you about it so that we could kind of help people all the way through it. That being said, I do have a question here.
Sure.
And this may be Chris again. I mean,
Chris is coming with the heat. Yeah, let's just hire Chris as an
Chris.
interview person for us and answer the questions, right? He's great and ask the questions for us.
He said there were days where you felt like engagement may be low during your stream. How did those streams make you feel afterwards? This is another mental part of what you had to go through. Let's hear it.
So, that's funny. So there were days that definitely engagement was off, where normally if I'll pull 10 to 15 viewers, there were days where it was like 5 or 6 viewers. And that did not affect me, because for me, when I walked away from those streams, it was, everybody was busy. Like, I'm doing this every day. And the big thing of it was that the majority of the people showed up. I cracked the joke because I say, you guys were on the challenge with me, because there were people like Paul, Gigi, K-Walk, Kevin Cox. There were a handful of people that showed up almost every single day. I would say in the 90s, whether it was 90%, 95%, 98%. And so those people did the journey for me. So if there were nights, let's say, like very rarely Gigi and K-Walk could not show up. And so when they didn't show up, it was like they probably got something going on. And sure enough, they were there the very next day. So that's one thing that didn't affect me. It affected me very temporarily, because you can't help but look at the numbers when you're actually live streaming. So absolutely, I was like, well, damn, that sucks. There's only 6 people on. All right, well, just stop looking at, and that's at that moment, I would say, stop looking at the numbers and so what I would do with Ecamm was I would hide all the controls so that I didn't see that number. And then just kept talking and just kind of, did the stream that way.
So what would you recommend for people? Because this can really, really help. And David, I see you, sir. Blessings to you as well. And someone says, IDTT show India Delgado.
Talk. That's funny.
I think it's really, really cool. I think it's cool.
Yeah, I like that. There. I know. I like that. I still need to come up with a name for my Tuesday show. So that might be my Tuesday show. Let me write that down. Hold on, Strick. Let me write.
There you go. Make sure you have it. Now you got to put it in your notes, right?
I got it. Look.
There you go. So I think this is Chris again saying, oh, let me get my camera back focused here. So I had 3 or 4 people that showed up every day too. I found it really hard when 2 people were on, I struggled with that. And let me help you out with this, Chris. It goes back to what you were trying to do. Now, with live streaming, you're trying to, gain an audience with people. But when we're still new, and new is a year or 2 old, okay? Maybe even 3 years old. All of us are still new to live streaming. And the best thing that you could be working on is your skills in front of the camera. Because what if 1,000 people showed up on your stream today? Do you think you have the skills and ability to be able to handle that crowd effectively?
Yeah.
I've been doing, outside of streaming, like I did radio for a long time. That led me into promotions, doing some small promotions, promoting shows and concerts. And as I was learning how to do concerts, I did a big concert. India, I mean, I had some of my best friends come through, and we got the auditorium at this school, and I'm like, we finna kill it.
Right.
And about a third of the crowd that I expected showed up. And I was thinking about, what if the whole crowd showed up? I didn't have doormen. I didn't have policemen. I didn't have people working the back. I didn't have all of the things that I needed to have a successful show if everybody showed up, you know? And I had to learn that over time. Let me have a smaller audience as I learn this so I can put pieces together. I can put pieces together and grow. Because what happens out of your audience, you do get people that are willing, like Paul, Paul Duncan, willing to be moderators and willing to help you along the way. And I guarantee you, if you have 1,000 people show up and if you don't have somebody working in there with you, it's going to be difficult. So think about, you know what? How can I add? This is another one, and I'll let you respond, India. How can I add value to those two people that show up? Like, what can I do to make sure those two people have the best experience and leave here willing to tell somebody else about it? Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So, that was a big part of
I'm sorry. The camera's catching me behind me. Go ahead.
It's all right. No. Yeah, I see it. Yeah. It goes in and out. It sees you. Yeah. But that was a big part of the anxiety that kind of really would drive me before the streams, because in my mind, it was, I got to add value. Like, what am I going to talk about today? Because these people are showing up. And if these people are showing up, I have that commitment to these people who are showing up to add value to them. Like, I'm not, like you said, I'm not going to just come on and, let's talk about golf, or let's talk about, no, like, I was very conscious of that. And so it was one of those things where it was like, all right, that's why I tried to plan the majority of the time of what I was going to be talking about. One of the things that I did really well, that I liked, and that I think also worked out really well, was when I planned out my streams a week ahead of time, I also shared it with the community. So there was, a week where we did the digital note taking, and the community knew what week we were going to go over that. That's so funny, because when I was going to do it, Paul texted me and Paul was like, don't do this on this day because I'm going to miss it. And so I had to readjust one of the lessons because he didn't want to miss it. When I went over things like Rebrandly and Calendly and getting your own domain, right? Like, that was a whole week's worth of show. I shared that with the community of, all right, this upcoming week. So I did that on Sundays for the upcoming week. And then, so to add the value, people then knew, India, I don't want to miss this. Thanks so much. I'm going to be here on whatever day it is. So I tried to be very conscious of that and, say, all right, this is what we're going to talk about next. And these are the things. And it's so funny. Like, we make a joke, and I did that with my Post-it, right? You see, I brought up my marker. I brought up my Post-it, because there were almost every day, the community would put something in there, or they would say some sort of comment that would trigger what could be a show. And so I was always going in like, guys, I'm going to write that down. And I would say 90% of the time, I turned those notes from the engagement from the community into actual live streams, whether it was, the next week or at some point throughout the stream. And I think that is a really good way to add value. It was literally, okay. Sure. And then I did that. And then I wrote the notes, and I showed the community. I wrote the notes, and I left it on my desk until I completed, crossed off whatever that was that I took the note for.
Let me ask you this question, India, and this is going to be slightly sidetracked, so don't stay right where you are. Have you ever had a Hall of Fame NFL wide receiver from Philadelphia show up to your streams? My man, Urban Fire, you know what I'm saying? What's up, y'all? Thank you, sir, for hanging out with us. We hadn't talked in a while, but I see your stuff as well, man. Keep doing it. And then Gigi said that Rebrandly was fire, and also Chris is planning and sharing what you're doing. Sold the show and got them to show up. So great advice.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
Really cool. And I missed somebody else. I think it was Weber that actually said, hey guys, so I think that's Lyle Weber, and the
Yeah,
digital note taking totally upgraded my iPad game. And then we have
yeah.
somebody else chiming in from Facebook saying hello. This is Eric. Eric, man, thank you for hanging out
Going
with us.
on, man?
You
Yes.
know, doing this live show thing, and
Yeah.
which is difficult because you have to stop. You want to give information. You have to stop
Right.
and acknowledge
Yep.
people because,
Yep.
man,
Yep.
this is the reason why we do it. So if there's someone that comes on, whether it's the end of the show, beginning of the show, and
Yeah.
if it's 5 minutes of content that they could get something out of,
Yep.
I believe we
Yep.
win. I really do.
Absolutely.
Believe we win.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it is a juggle to do, right? Especially when you're doing tutorial style stuff. And so for me, I feel like that's what makes my live streams so successful is engaging with the community, right?
Right.
I try not to miss a beat with a comment. You're doing the same thing. You're trying to acknowledge every single comment. That's important
Come on, India,
because
we
your
learn
viewers,
from the best.
right?
We learn
Come
from
on,
the best.
man.
Come on, Doc Rock. I mean, listen,
It's
he
true.
does it because what do you say? He loses attention really, really fast, or he does
Yes,
it. But
he gets squirreled. He gets squirreled. Yeah,
he
yeah,
gets
yeah.
squirred, so he's able to do that pretty good. But Michelle is hanging out with us, so thank
Hey,
you
girl.
for doing that.
Yes.
And always looking for nuggets. And that's my man, Irvin Fryer. So listen,
Yeah,
if we can
man.
help in any way, like some of the
Yep.
stuff today with India talking about her experience with 100 days of making content.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, Irvin, you would know that when you're training for something, like
Yeah.
some days you say, hey, okay, if I'm going to work out, this is a workout I need to do. So wide receiver,
Right.
like, you're going to focus on your footwork just as well as your hands. So if say we're live streaming and there's some things that you're missing it at or you're not so good at, take some time to maybe go on for 5 or 10 minutes and just work on those things.
Yeah.
I just think India, we just have to be serious about what we're doing, right? We have to
Right.
take it serious, and we have to do
Yep.
all we can to level up our game. So
Yeah.
what we're dreaming and hoping for, which is the audience, I'm going to go back to this, Chris Woods, when we're dreaming for that audience, how
Yep.
are you preparing yourself for that audience when it comes?
Yeah, so it's so funny, Chris's comment, right? Don't do what I did and take 200 days off after after the challenge, right?
That happened to me, Chris. I completely do understand, and everybody is shouting out Michelle right now as well for coming to the stream.
Yeah.
She woke up to come hang out with us. Now, that
That's
being
it.
said, India, you have a show tonight that you're going to be,
Yes.
you're still doing
Yes.
it. You're still doing content.
Yes.
So I don't want people
Yep.
to miss it.
Yeah. So I'm doing the show in about a half an hour at 8:15. So yeah, in a half an hour from now, give or take. And so
you said
I'm not.
you pushed it back a little bit, so
I did push it back so we can make sure we're good. Yeah. I didn't want us to rush off. I pushed it back a little bit, definitely. I didn't plan on taking any time off. So I took off. So I'm going to do twice a week. I'm going to do on Sundays and Tuesdays. So today is my first day from the 100 days. So I didn't take off time really.
Okay.
I went from Sunday to Sunday, and then this Tuesday starts my very first Tuesday show.
Okay.
And it was one of those things that I knew I couldn't take off. And it was, for me, I knew I couldn't take off because I took off last year. I was, I bought my house in Philly. I was getting settled in. I switched from one bank to another, right? There was a lot of things going on that I went on that hiatus.
Right.
So coming from the live streams, it was like, nah, I'm going to do this. I'm going to keep on. I have that momentum going.
Right.
And I'm just going to keep doing it. Like if you can do it on 100 days, you can absolutely do it on the weekly, and it's now a part of my schedule where it's like, it's a part of my schedule. My community knows what to expect. And then the other thing was that I talked about it throughout with my community as well, of telling them, all right, guys, we're going to do it Sundays, and I'm going to pick a day. I'm going to pick a day. I kept saying I'm going to pick a day until I ended up picking the day. And that's it. So it also goes to the accountability. I've committed to my community, and now they knew that I'm going to keep on a weekly basis, twice a week. And this is what we're doing.
That's awesome.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
How about any kind of systems or equipment that you may have picked up on the way to kind of help you do what you do?
So systems is a good one. I ended up eventually, so I signed up for Kajabi right before I started the streams. I signed up for Kajabi in February when they were doing their 2/22/22 promo where they gave 2 months free, which was a steal at that point. But I didn't do anything with it until I would say the middle of March. And so with Kajabi, it's really you can launch courses on there. It has a website, like it's a full-blown online servicing package where you can do your courses, you can actually do coaching, consultations, you can have a community, you can have a website, blogs, landing pages, marketing, and things like that. And so that is a system that I ended up signing up for. It is now a part of like all of the tools that I use, like Ecamm, Restream, etc. Kajabi is my absolute go-to for maintaining my website. I'm going to continue to build my masterclasses. So I have the Stream Deck Masterclass right now that's currently live. I do offer coaching/consultations on there. Now that the streams are done, I'm going to be doing a weekly blog that Kajabi is going to host. So that was a huge system, right? Software integration that's now going to be a part of not just content creation, but also a part of my brand as an entrepreneur, right? Because if I'm doing coaching/consultation, that's where I send everybody because it has payment structure. And then I do the coaching/consultation from within the Kajabi site as well. So that was huge for me. And that was one of my goals with really officially, formally launching my business this year. So with that, I created my LLC, got my tax ID, registered the business with the state of Pennsylvania. So I did all of that stuff. Yeah, I did all of that stuff. I just got the paperwork back maybe like 2 or 3 weeks ago. So I'm still trying to decide of what bank I'm going to use for business banking. That's the next step, obviously. So that's that in terms of systems. I'm trying to think. I don't think there's really anything else systems or software wise that I've done. And then a gear itself, like I mentioned right before we started the stream, I did pick up the ZV-E10 when they finally started coming back in stock about 3 or 4 weeks ago.
How are you planning on using that in your setup?
So, it's so funny. My ZV-E10 is not in my setup. My ZV-E10 is my portable. This is my replacement. Okay. Like I mentioned to you, I had an A5100 because I like to take pictures. I have a handful of lenses and stuff. So this is my portable go-to for me to swap out my lenses, take pictures and things like that. And if I wanted to, like when I go to my girlfriend's house to stream, then this will be my go-to camera. But I don't have this mounted anywhere because this is for me to like run and gun.
I love it. So you talked about Kajabi and what you're doing with your master's class with the Stream Deck. If people want more information about that, or they want to contact you and go through all your classes to get all of your stuff, how can they do that? How can they get in contact with you?
Yep. So I'm sure Paul, with the latency, it'll be on in the chat in a few seconds because Paul is really good. You can do indiad.live/ I would say, I'm trying to think of the right. So it's courses.indiad.live is the better one because that's my whole website. Courses.indiad.live. That's my whole website. And from there, you can access the blog. You can access my store and things like that. Ecamm users do get 15% off.
There you go.
So if you're an Ecamm user, you can use it's 15% off. And if you go to my channel, it's at the beginning of every single description as well. So the coupon code and all of that good stuff is on there. And if not, just send me a message and I'll hook you up.
There we go again for Ecamm for the win, right?
Yeah.
You gotta love that. Well, I know you have a show you have to get ready for tonight.
Yeah.
I thank you for coming on. I'm hoping that you got something out of this conversation tonight. It was really cool to be able to catch up with you, India, and for you to be able to have that discipline for 100 days. That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm glad that I came on and was able to share the experience with the community. It has been fun.
So where are you going to be next? So you're on your channels, YouTube, Facebook? Yep.
YouTube. So restreaming to YouTube and then Facebook, the Let's Get Live. I'm slowly getting away from restreaming everywhere. It's going to eventually be just my YouTube channel. So come hang out with us on YouTube over at India Delgado. Yeah.
There you go. Again, thank you for India for coming through, and thank you guys for hanging out with us today. It's been a great stream
Thank you.
show. Every Sunday night, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, you got me, the Stream Guy, right here on the Stream Show. Now, if I can remember the button that I have here to end the show, it'll be really, really cool. Like, I forgot what button it is, so I'm going to have to use it
funny.
by hand. There we go.